Today's story begins in May 1962. Tourists were enjoying themselves on the magnificent Italian cruise ship named Antonia Graza as it cut through the waves. The singer Francesca was performing a classic song on stage. A man wearing a blue uniform, the manager of the service team, took the initiative to approach the captain and first officer. In a corner, the pretty little girl Katie did not look very happy. Wanting to cheer her up, the kind captain took the initiative to invite her to dance. Everyone was smiling radiantly with happiness, and the scene seemed very peaceful, but they had no idea that someone had strung an extremely strong and thin steel cable across the deck. When the winch behind began to operate, the steel wire whipped past in a split second. The guests had not yet regained their composure when they were all severed in two. Katie was below the level of the wire, so she dodged it, but the captain holding her was not so lucky. Before her eyes were only bodies. She screamed in utter despair. 40 years later, the female lead Epps is a brave crew member with superb swimming skills. She and her associates have formed a professional search and salvage team. Their work mainly consists of receiving payment from big shots to salvage items fallen into the water or sunken ships. That evening, after finishing work, the whole group went to a pub to celebrate and prepare for a long vacation. A timid man sitting in the corner took the initiative to step up and strike up a conversation. His name was Jack, a pilot. He had discovered a lavish, ownerless ship drifting at sea. Jack invited the team members to go there for a reconnaissance trip. Jack very seriously negotiated with the group about splitting the proceeds at a 1-to-9 ratio. He gets 10%, the team 90%, on the condition that he must accompany them. So the whole team gathered, and as soon as dawn broke, they all set off. A few days passed, and they finally pinpointed the location of that giant ship thanks to radar. Murphy has profound knowledge. With just a glance, he immediately recognized this as the famous Antonia Graza ship that went missing at sea in May 1962. Becoming one of the unsolved mysteries of modern maritime history, everyone was eager to board the ship. 40 years had passed, so everything inside the ship had long since rotted. Rumor has it that back then, there were a total of 600 passengers on board. While chatting, Santos made a misstep and almost fell down below. When Epps saved Santos, she accidentally saw Katie, the lucky survivor of the massacre 40 years ago, on the deck. The little girl immediately vanished, and the female lead just thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. In another development, Dodge and Munder found a digital watch in the control room, clearly not an item from 40 years ago. This proved they were not the first people to set foot on this ship to hunt for treasure. Coincidentally, the tugboat's engine encountered a problem at the wrong time, so everyone had to fix the boat while searching for valuable items to bring back. Because according to international maritime law, property floating at sea belongs to the finder. This meant everything on this ship would belong to them. The team members were forced to stay here for a few days. Epps found a swimming pool on the ship. The water inside had dried up long ago. Epps discovered bullet holes on the pool walls and countless shell casings scattered about, proving that a massacre likely took place here. She intended to report this news to the others, but as she prepared to leave, the little girl Katie appeared again, scaring Epps out of her wits. Fortunately, Jack pulled her up and reassured Epps, saying that perhaps someone was just practicing shooting in the pool. After the two left, the bullet holes in the pool began to ooze blood, gradually dyeing the whole pool red. Epps's deduction was completely correct. A slaughter had occurred here, so where had those bodies gone? Afterward, she led Jack down to the laundry room in the hull, where there was a manhole cover. She handily opened the cover, but unexpectedly, countless bodies poured out with the water flow. Observing the level of decomposition, these people had died less than a month ago, whereas they had not been on board long, meaning this group had already lost their lives here. At the same time, Murphy went alone to the captain's office. On the table, there was still a fresh glass of wine. Murphy curiously intended to taste it, but as soon as he looked up, he saw the silhouette of that captain in the mirror. Oh mother, could there really be ghosts here? In another development, member Greer was also rummaging for valuables on the ship. Suddenly, a strange singing voice rang out. Greer followed the singing to a bar where there was still a cigarette that hadn't burned out with lipstick stains on it. Greer thought another member had smoked and left it there, so he didn't think much of it and walked away, but he didn't know that the singer in the red dress who sang on the dance floor all those years ago was standing in the corner watching him coldly. Back to Jack and Epps, they struggled to escape the laundry room, only to strangely wander into another room. Luckily, this place hid countless gold bars. Oh my God. So much gold made everyone unable to hold back their laughter, and they didn't even bother caring about the ghost stories anymore. Now they were just calculating how to move this pile of gold. Only Epps felt they should hand over the gold to the Coast Guard because such a large amount could not go undeclared, and she didn't want to get into trouble because of this. Epps didn't care about the gold. She just wanted to leave this place quickly. But while the members were packing up to move the gold, the tugboat engine suddenly leaked gas in a strange way, causing a massive explosion. The boat pilot Santos was the first victim, deceased, then Greer was seriously injured and saved by Epps. Everyone started turning to blame Jack, saying it was all his fault. If he hadn't enticed them to come here to find treasure, they wouldn't be stranded like this. Members who were usually close-knit now began to blame each other. There was even shoving. Dodge sat depressed and silent in a corner, saying nothing. At this moment, Murphy dragged his tired body to the captain's room and picked up the bottle of wine on the table to drink. In his drunken haze, he looked up and saw the captain, who had been cut in two by the steel wire 40 years ago, pouring wine and handing him an album. The ship in the photo was named Times Lorelei Asterisk, also a famous ghost ship in history. 40 years ago, the captain found this ghost ship. There was not a soul on board, only a few chests of gold. The captain immediately transferred that gold to his ship, not expecting that 2 days later, an inhumane massacre would occur on his ship. The ghost captain said nothing and immediately handed Murphy a photo. After looking at it, he was terrified. What exactly was that photo that made Murphy so stunned? In another corner, Munder and Dodge had opened food cans from 40 years ago in the kitchen. It is unknown what the two of them were thinking to open these cans to eat. Surprisingly, these canned foods were not spoiled at all, and the taste of the fish cake was not bad. Have another piece, and just like that, piece after piece. This delicious dish became their favorite protein-rich meal, but in reality, it was maggots. The scene shifts to Epps entering another room. Inside were cloth dolls and girls' dresses. Clearly its owner was a very skillful and careful little girl. Epps opened the wardrobe, unexpectedly finding a dried skeleton hanging inside. This skeleton belonged to Katie, and the little girl's soul suddenly appeared behind the female lead. The girl said that everyone on the ship had died. The souls of many had returned home, but the remaining souls that were marked could not escape this ship. Before the girl could finish speaking, she was dragged away by some mysterious supernatural force, leaving only Epps standing rooted to the spot in shock. Greer also encountered a mysterious phenomenon. He went down to the dance floor alone to drown his sorrows in alcohol. In the blink of an eye, the tattered dance floor returned to the time 40 years ago. The beautiful singer Francesca stepped out to dance a tune with Greer. Amidst everyone's applause, Greer, while explaining that he already had a wife and children and was a very decent man, kissed her on the lips. Just as he wanted to proceed further with the singer, he was lured by her to the elevator, which had no bottom, and pushed down. Just like that, Greer fell to his death, becoming the second sacrifice. Murphy staggered out of the captain's room holding the photo, but at this moment, as if possessed by a demon, before his eyes, his close teammate had turned into a demon, coming to take his life. Murphy began to attack Epps. He rushed forward madly. Just as Epps was about to be killed, Jack rushed in and used the butt of his gun to knock Murphy unconscious. Epps and Jack locked him in the water tank to let him calm down. After that, everyone combined their efforts, intending to repair the ship and steer it to the nearest island. Everything went very smoothly, and everyone believed that before long they would reach the shore. That evening, Epps saw Katie's soul again. Through contact, Katie reenacted what happened 40 years ago. It turned out the man in blue leading the service team had brought his underlings on board and poisoned the food, killing all the guests who dined. Then he activated the steel wire set up on the deck, slicing all the dancing passengers in half. Katie, thanks to her small body, escaped the disaster. Next, they herded the remaining survivors into the swimming pool for execution. In just one night, more than 600 people lost their lives, and the little girl also died that night. The masterminds of all this were the singer in the red dress, Francesca, and the first officer. They used the gold and silver on the ship to bribe subordinates to sell their lives for them. The first officer, used by the singer, killed all his subordinates. Just when he thought he could embrace the gold, silver, and jewels, he died at the hands of the singer. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. It turned out the person behind the singer was the final boss. He stepped out of the shadows, embraced and kissed the singer passionately, and finally, the singer also died miserably in the trap he had set, a sharp hook. Her hand was also stamped with a mark. The camera gradually turned, and it turned out the final boss was Jack, the person who seemed the most harmless in the team. Jack was the one who led them to the exploration ship. He was also the one who saved her time and time again, and the one who knocked Murphy unconscious. As soon as Epps regained her composure, she rushed to the place where Murphy was locked up, but in the end, she was still a step too late. He had been drowned, his hand still clutching the photo of Jack. It turned out that not long after discovering the treasure, the captain had rescued Jack drifting at sea for a few days. Who would have thought Jack was a demon? But unfortunately, by the time they realized it, it was too late. Jack tore off his mask of false kindness, killed Munder, died in the gears, and finally fought a battle with Dodge. But human weapons could not harm him. At the same time, Epps went into the ship's hold and set a bomb, intending to blow up the entire ship along with the cursed pile of gold. Jack told Epps most of the souls on the ship are guilty. The sinful souls are all marked and controlled by him. However, the innocent souls are not subject to control. For example, Katie was innocent, so she could appear before Epps to tell her the whole story. Jack is a messenger of the devil, specializing in helping his master collect sinful souls. Therefore, he constantly lures innocent people onto the ship and marks the souls bearing sin. When he has gathered enough of the quota, he will take the ship to the devil to use it in exchange for immortal life. Jack wanted to make a deal with Epps. I let you live. You don't blow up the ship, okay? To hell with that. Epps refused. Jack and the ghost ship were blown to smithereens. Under Katie's guidance, Epps found a way out. The bomb broke the confinement. As each piece of debris sank, more than 600 souls were thereby released to heaven. After floating for an unknown amount of time, Epps was rescued by a passing ship. After the boat docked, Epps sat in the ambulance. Do you think this is the end of the movie? Epps saw the members moving the cursed crates of gold onto the ship, followed by Jack, the one who had died long ago. The devil's slaughter will never end. And that is where the movie ends. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video.